Is it me, or does the Hasselblad X2D2 sound like a Star Wars character? So I've been watching all of the videos, the release day, advertorials, ad reviews of the Hasselblad X2D2 that all suddenly appeared on YouTube all at once on announcement slash release day. I wanted to wait to make this video so that I could digest a bunch of the advertorials, the ShillTube advertorials, and kind of get down to what's actually going on here. Of course, I have not had the camera in my hands. Hasselblad did not offer to give me one like all the advertorial ShillTubers, and nothing wrong with that. It's a gorgeous camera. If they offer it, I would 100% take it. Don't get me wrong here. But I have not had it in my hands. But where I think I'm at least qualified to talk about this a little bit is that I've had every medium format or digital medium format camera system in my hands at one point or another. I've also had most of the film medium format systems in my hands as well. On the film side, I own a Pentax 672. I've had a Hasselblad 500 series, a couple of those. Shot Mamiya RB67s, RZ67s, whatever it is. Some of the more modern Hasselblad guys, the H series film back guys. What else? Mamiya 7s, all kinds of stuff. And then on the digital side, I have shot several phase one cameras on multiple occasions in studio and in the field. I have shot the Leica S system, which is arguably my favorite medium format camera system. More on that in a minute. The Pentax 645 system, film and digital. And then, of course, the Fujifilm GFX system and the Hasselblad, both H system up to the H6D100C, which was by far my favorite Hasselblad camera. More on that as well in a second. And then this, whatever it is, XCD, crop sensor medium format stuff, of which the X2D2 is a part of that line. So in watching all these advertorials, I realized that you could kind of parse what the ShillTubers are saying, and I say ShillTubers jokingly and lovingly. It's just a joke, I watch a ton of YouTube. It's super entertaining. Don't get me wrong. Just making jokes here, folks. But, if you kind of listen to what they say, you can often figure out what they're really trying to say and really want to say in terms of both criticisms and praises. So I'll start with praises. I'll start with the good stuff, the good news first. The Hasselblad X2D2 has great build quality, same as the previous version, decent battery life. The price is actually cheaper than the old version. It's the exact same price, $7,500, as the Fujifilm GFX 100 Mark II. And it continues to use Hasselblad's, what I would say probably almost class-leading medium format glass. The glass on Hasselblad, the XCD glass, especially the new series, the V guys, I love the focus clutch on them. I think Hasselblad uses way less digital correction, and the optics are way better and cleaner, right out of the lens than the Fujifilm line. They're using less in-camera digital corrections, and they render really nicely. So that's definitely a point in Hasselblad's favor. They kept the leaf shutter in there. That is a huge advantage over the Fujifilm system, candidly. They continue to have what I would say near class leading screens. 5-point something viewfinder that's very large and clear, and the tuning of the color and the light and shadow is very good. They improved the back screen so it tilts out and kind of tilts down a little bit also, so you can do over the head shooting. And something I really like that they did in terms of the screens is they talked about the color gamut and the display color temperature. I wish more manufacturers would talk about this and focus on this. I think this is something that Fuji really has to work on. Their screens, while they're high res, the color's all wrong and the light and shadow on them do not represent how the photo looks. It's really frustrating and kind of surprising for cameras as expensive as the GFX line. Whereas the Hasselblad, with its P3 color gamut and D65 display color temperature, which I believe is the same as the iPhone, it looks like the photo you get out of the camera. Very true to life to the photo that you're getting as the output of the camera. I think that's really great, really smart, and Hasselblad does a really nice job of this. Another big improvement of the X2D2 over its predecessor is that it has a joystick and more custom function buttons. They listened to customers, they gave them what they wanted, and they just kind of brought this camera up to 2015 hardware utility. And then they added LiDAR as well as phase detect autofocus. So it has real continuous autofocus with actual eye tracking. Before they had eye recognition or face recognition, which is just a box around somebody letting you know the camera's recognizing a face, but it wasn't actually focusing on the face and it wouldn't track faces before. Now, supposedly it does. So, a lot of the shill tubers were saying, oh, Hasselblad listened to its customers, it fixed all the problems. I don't think so. Here are the negative things that I've sort of parsed from all these different advertorials. Okay, first of all, the autofocus is not fixed. It is not anywhere near where it should be, seemingly. Like just getting continuous autofocus. The GFX 100 had that, and I would guess the GFX works quite a bit better than the Hasselblad being released in 2025. The GFX 100 had that in 2019. I actually think that the GFX still has class-leading autofocus, and like it's as good or better than the X series APS-C cameras from Fuji. I just think a lot of the YouTube reviewers don't spend enough time with Fujifilm cameras to understand how the focus system in Fuji cameras works. It's not quite as like straightforward and easy out of the box as like say a Sony. But once you get it set up, it's pretty good as long as you're using the right lens. On the GFX, it's really just two lenses that work well for video. It's the 32 to 64 and the 45 to 100 because those two lenses have linear motors in them, so they work well for video. Other ones like the 55 and the 80 1.7s or whatever are trash for video, okay? But if you get a Fujifilm with the right lens and you set up the autofocus very well, it's been good since like the previous decade, right? Hasselblad is just getting close. Then they had to add their LiDAR to phase detect, and like that just troubles me, right? Like I don't know that the LiDAR technology is all the way there in terms of like fineness of focusing you need for a 100 megapixel medium format sensor camera. And then the phase detect should work. Like it works fine in the Fuji, or like as fine as medium format goes, right? So, I think if you really listen closely to what the shill tubers are saying, the autofocus is improved from the previous model by quite a bit, but it's still not quite up to the Fuji standards, But glad to see the improvement. Don't want to bang on it too much, but I just don't think it's going to be this amazing autofocus. The previous version, the autofocus was basically unusable in any like medium to tepid pace situation, right? Now I think with this new update, the X2D2, it probably gets to tepid to moderately paced situations to be okay in. But like a fast paced commercial shoot or like a model shoot or like a celebrity shoot where you have 5 minutes with a person, I doubt this autofocus is going to be able to keep up. That's just my guess and what I'm getting from parsing all these videos. Another thing some people have just said straight up, they didn't fix one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's the eye sensor for the EVF. Right? Like when you lift the camera to your eye, it does not just switch the EVF. Sometimes it doesn't switch at all. Sometimes you gotta like jam it into your face and then it'll switch, and then like once in a while it'll just switch, just to make you crazy. It'll just work well. So, it sounds like they didn't fix that at all. That takes away a lot of joy from the use of the camera, if I'm being honest, because it's just not reliable. You never know what you're gonna get, and it's almost always creates a delay. It sounds like battery life is slightly worse, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. If we're being honest, this is pretty much a studio camera. Even though Hasselblad marketed it as like a street photography camera and all this stuff, it's a studio princess, this camera, okay? Like, unless you're shooting landscapes and you don't mind, huffing up a mountain with a bunch of gear, the size of the Hasselblad gear, which is small for medium format, crop sensor medium format. It's definitely smaller than the Fujifilm stuff by like a good country mile, but it's not that small. Like, even the more compact full frame stuff is quite a bit smaller and lighter. Like I would not use the Hasselblad system as an everyday carry, especially not the X2D2. I have some videos about the 907, how you could use it as an everyday carry and the problems with that. But again, I just think this is a studio camera still. Especially with the features that they've put in this camera. Like, I don't know that Hasselblad knows how to make a street photography camera exactly, It's like, they should just do a JV with Leica and let Leica help them with that, I don't know. Oh, also, I should mention that, like, Fujifilm is the only one that has like a true portable travel camera in the medium format category. I've been having a ball shooting this GFX 100 RF. Is it an easy camera to shoot? No. Is it good in low light? No. Is it super challenging to shoot? Yes. Does that make it super fun to use? Yes. So, there, Hasselblad has some catching up to do. I don't think the X2D2 is a competitor to this. This is so much more small, light, compact, easy to carry around. The X2D2 is heavy. This last one is going to be kind of controversial. I think this generation of Hasselblad cameras, this X2D generation, The color science in these cameras is not that great. It's way overdone. It's way oversaturated. Skin tones can be very plastic and artificial looking. And it just doesn't have that like Hasselblad almost looks like film, organic, natural look that Hasselblad cameras used to have. Like the H6D 100 and the original X1D and X1D2. Man, the skin tones and the colors on those are phenomenal. This camera feels more like a digital camera. It feels closer to like a Lumix or a Canon or like even the GFX system. Like they're not that far apart. So to me, it's kind of a bummer that they didn't go back to that old color science that was like so good. And don't get me wrong, like it's still a really good color science. It looks really pleasing coming out of the camera. It's, probably class leading among like all the Japanese brands, out there. But I still think like Leica has better color science. I think the Leica S3's color science blows both the GFX and the Hassy out of the water. The colors are so much better out of that camera. And it's just sort of too bad that Hasselblad kind of didn't at least tweak the colors, just calm them down a little bit. Bring it back to the H6D days, because those colors looked like medium format film. Like, I don't know how they did it. I don't know if it's like the DJI influence that like maybe Asian audiences like want more of this like super saturated, big pop, color palette. I don't know. But personally for me, that might be the one reason why I'm probably not running out to get the X2D2 is that like I just didn't love the image output largely because of the colors of the X2D. Now, I also had a ton of problems with the X2D. I like pre-ordered it. I got it right from Hasselblad, but then the lens mount was loose. The EVF was messed up. Like I had all these problems with it. So that's the other reason too, is like, I don't know if they've fixed all their build quality problems. I actually got an email from Hasselblad at like 1 a.m. on release day saying, hey, we've got a few in stock. Do you want one? And I really had to think about it. And ultimately I didn't pull the trigger because I don't know, like, did they put a joystick in like I really wanted? Yes. Did they kind of make the flip out screen a little bit better? Yes. Is the output very, very beautiful? Are the lenses wonderful? Is the build quality great? Yes, yes, and yes. But to me at least, it just doesn't feel like they fixed all of the things. They kind of listed their customers, but like maybe it's just not physically possible from an engineering perspective or something. There's just still a bunch of misses for me. The EVF lag delay is like such a bummer, honestly. It's been a while since they released a new prime. Like I'm sure the zoom lens is great. If it's anything like the 20 to 35, it'll be optically superior than anything Fuji has in the GFX line. And then like overall, I just don't think the operational rapidity, the fastness of shooting and the shooting experience is there yet. I just get the feeling from, watching these videos that it's still going to be kind of a frustrating experience shooting the Hasselblad system, the X2D system. Like the autofocus isn't quite there. Just things are slow. Something that like YouTubers, I don't think they don't realize this, if I'm being honest, but there's like this big blackout when you shoot both the GFX and at least the previous X2D and 907 cameras that make it really hard to shoot, kind of in a fast-paced environment. Like they actually reduce the FPS of the X2D2, which is kind of interesting. It kind of tells you something. So, I just don't think that like the operational speed is there yet. That's my guess. And I think it's still going to be a somewhat frustrating experience to shoot this camera. And because the colors aren't spot on like I want them, and the EVF thing would drive me crazy, I'm just going to wait. I'm of course going to, rent it and check it out. I do have lenses for it behind me. That may change. But all of this had me going back and looking at my Leica S3 files from when I had that camera. And, the colors, Leica just nailed it. They are so lifelike, so filmic and gorgeous and cinematic, just spot on and rich. And like the fall off from the lenses is like awesome Leica quality. And I just don't think anyone, GFX, Fujifilm, X2D, Hasselblad, have come close to the Leica S3's image output. Now, that's a really slow camera, and the autofocus is terrible on it, don't get me wrong. But just in terms of pure image quality, they're just not there yet. They just haven't caught up there. So maybe this is all really just a long way of saying, Leica, where is your medium format entry? Let's put Hasselblad and Fuji in the ground. Let's Leica it up. Where's the S4? Let's go Leica. So yeah, that's kind of it. Those are my thoughts. Some controversial stuff in there, I know. But just an opinion here, just something to think about. My tally light's blinking. I wonder what that means. Have you tried the GFX versus the X2D2 or X2D? Are you running out to get the X2D2? Do you agree that Leica kind of nailed it with the S3 and really needs to come out with a medium format mirrorless version? Let me know your thoughts below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Gaga. Oh, and I forgot to mention, apologies for the boring background here. I'm moving some stuff around. I'm going to actually build out a YouTube set or two here in the gear closet. So that's why it's kind of a messy, boring background. Sorry about that. It'll get better, I promise.